Hey everyone, back again with another video. Tonight, voicing over a MacBook screen replacement that I did last week. So, trying to keep these recordings to one per week, but it's not going necessarily the way that I wanted it to. Basically, what it boils down to is time availability. So, what you're seeing here is I'm just getting that back cover off. I'm using a pentalobe screw bit in my automatic screwdriver. Didn't realize that my camera was focusing so much on the screwdriver, so I'm sorry about that. But it's kind of one of the only ways I can take video like this. I need to get a better camera setup. I actually just took my cell phone, set it out in front of the MacBook, and called it a day. So let's see. It's got, I also have this wonderful mat that I lay screws out in order on. So I try to showcase that a couple times where I like hold my hands out. I'm like, see, but you can't see because the camera, it's not pointed there. But if you don't have one of these automatic screwdrivers and you're an IT guy or you're working in tech and you don't have one of these, you need to get one, especially if you have carpal tunnel like I do. Oh man, it's a lifesaver. Definitely a lifesaver. So this one was fairly straightforward. Some of these covers get really complicated. This one just pulled right off. So this is a MacBook Air. I believe the exact model is A2337. So I'm telling you to stop and remove the battery first, because before you do anything inside of this guy, it's important to make sure there's no voltage going to that logic board, because you can fry just about anything. And it's pretty common when you're doing these to actually end up frying the webcam as part of the screen replacement. When I first started doing these, I actually fried a couple of webcams because I didn't pull the battery. And that was on me. And of course, I'm getting a little stuffy. I always get stuffy when I record audio for my videos here. Get a drink of water here. Linus would be proud. I'm using the LTT store water bottle. I got the 40 ouncer. I try to go through like 2 or 3 of these a day. Have you ever noticed that, oh yeah, so I guess I should get back to what I'm actually supposed to be doing here, which is telling you what I'm doing. So the first thing I'm doing here is removing the Wi-Fi antenna. So the Wi-Fi antenna on a MacBook Air 2337 has 4 screws that utilize a T5 head. So that's the bit that I've got in the screwdriver right now. I actually am switching my bits pretty easily because I've got them all lined up. But a T5 head is what you want to use for removing the Wi-Fi antenna. Now, prior to removing the antenna, there are additional steps, of course. You can't just pull it out after that. After you remove the antenna, after you remove the screws for the antenna, I usually try to remove all the T5 screws. There's 2 little black screws. And what I'm doing there, it might seem silly that I rubbed my screwdriver on it. That's a magnet to help hold that back cover on. So what I did is just rubbed my screwdriver bit on that so that it would magnetize a little better. I'm reorganizing the screws. So there's 2 black screws. Those black screws hold the monitor, not the monitor, but the cable in place for the LCD. And I switched bits again. I'm going to a T4 now. And I'm removing the cover that goes over the cables for the Wi-Fi antenna. And the cables for the Wi-Fi antenna are such a bear to put back on. But they're this easy to get off. Pop, pop. And there you go. Done. Right? So next, I'm removing the 2 screws that hold the cover on the LCD cable that runs from the motherboard to the LCD assembly. Piece of cake. Just got to be extra careful so you don't strip them out, especially if you're using one of these automatic screwdrivers. I haven't had a problem with stripping out the screw heads in a long time. And typically the only time I ever have is when I have, oh yeah, so I'm popping this out. This is a little more difficult than it looks. So this is actually kind of double-sided taped. This is your Wi-Fi antenna that I'm trying to remove right now. It's kind of double-sided taped in there. So you have to pry very, very carefully because the logic board's just on the other side of it in order for it to pop up. But anyway, what was I saying before that? I don't remember. I'm sorry, guys. I have a little bit of short-term memory issue right now. I am, to be fair, working on like 4 hours of sleep. My dog woke me up at 4. I'm voicing this over at 8:47 the evening later. So that evening. Okay. So it's coming up. You got to do it very carefully. You don't want to. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I use this little metal spudger, but I'm really careful about it. I'm not trying to push on the board. I'm actually trying to make sure that that metal spudger braces up against the frame of the laptop instead, because then it won't damage anything. And there's your Wi-Fi antenna. Set that aside. You can see that cable there is the LCD cable. That's it. That's the whole assembly. So your backlight and your webcam and all that run off that one flex cable there that I just showed you a little bit ago. So this is a little challenging. The reason you saw the whole MacBook move there is the hinge screws are tightened so tight. So tight. So you really have to push down and hold the laptop in place so it doesn't take off when you're trying to do what you're doing. Okay, got 3 of those done. So now this one I think is a little funny. I recorded this full process, and this customer actually ended up ordering the wrong color screen for the laptop, or ended up telling me that the screen was the wrong color. So as you can tell, this is a space gray MacBook Air. The actual screen that we ended up getting for it was silver. So it ends up being a two-tone laptop, but it's not a huge deal. She didn't mind it anyway. For some people, that would be a huge deal. They'd be like, ew, return it. But this customer was like, whatever, it's fine. It was more important that they actually have the computer than they cared about the actual screen, the screen color. And you'll see, I'm going to open this up. You can see how gross that old screen is. And that bottom portion will just pop right off, leaving nothing but the LCD display there that I pull off and take away. So then I put the computer part face down, and I'm going to unbox here, if I'm not already unboxed. Anyway, I get my screens from 7Puppy. I think I might have mentioned that in a short recently. For another MacBook screen replacement that I did. If you end up cracking your screen, bring it to me. I can take care of it for you. Or if you want to ship it in, feel free. You can just BG Tech Repair. That's where I am. I'll get you your price and everything. And 7Puppy doesn't necessarily sell cheap displays. They sell really good quality displays that have been tested and stress tested as well, I'd say. So I think they've been in the business for quite a while, but they do an excellent job. Me struggling with the packaging. I don't know where my pocket knife is. I actually haven't seen it for a bit. I think it's in a pair of pants that I have refused to put away, like in the laundry somewhere. So I'll find it someday. So I'm just using a little tiny X-Acto blade anyway. But you got to really carefully pull the screens out of here. You don't want to damage it. It is a Retina display, so it's, high dollar. I think the screen for this was, I want to say, $178. So not even that bad. For the 15.5-inch ones that you can get, those screens can be as much as $500 or $600 for a new Retina display, and you don't want to deal with that. That's terrible pricing. At that rate, you might as well go on to Back Market and buy yourself a really good quality, refurb. which I've actually recommended to people who have brought me their 15.5-inch MacBooks. I actually learned that lesson the hard way, because those 15.5-inch screens are really hard to find. 7 Puppy sells them, but they have their shipping is a lot longer for those, because those screens are a lot more rare to get. All right, here we go. So this is the part that I like the least when installing a new screen, is fitting the hinge and everything. And you can see I messed up already. You can see that ribbon cable, it's not in position, and I get to realizing that as soon as I start to bend it. I think I get both hinges in position and I start to bend it down, and then I realize, oh crap, my ribbon cable's not in the right place. So then I struggle a little bit pulling it back apart so I can get that ribbon cable back through there to the back side. These are the things that I forget about late at night when I'm working on computers. But that's usually when I'm working on computers, is late at night, because I have a full-time job. So basically the hard part the thing I'm trying to overcome here is you have to push those hinges up against the body of the bottom portion of the computer, against the palm rest. So it's hard to work with, because basically those hinges are really, like, they're machined pretty tight. So when you go to open and close a MacBook, you know, that stiff feeling that you feel, that's because those hinges are really well put together. And if you try to smush them in and push it down, you'll end up cracking the new screen. And that's not what you want to do, because you just spent $178 on that new screen. So you got to be careful. And I'm putting those hinge screws back in. We're basically doing everything here in reverse order. So I discovered the voiceover feature on Premiere like a couple weeks ago. And it wasn't by mistake. It was just because I was tired of recording an audition and then trying to overlay. So I'm really happy to have this voiceover feature, because it makes my life like 10 times easier. So here we are. All right, the hinge screws are back in, which means I got to start doing things in reverse order with the installation. So naturally, that's the Wi-Fi antenna. And again, this is really easy on the MacBook Air as opposed to the MacBook Pro. The MacBook Pro ends up being, you have to route 3 cables through a teeny tiny hole, and then make sure there's also a screw hole that you have to get to a certain part. And so when I do the MacBook Pro, I charge an extra hour of labor, because it also has, like, I want to say 10 microscopic, like Torx 2 screws, like T2s, to pull the Wi-Fi antenna out, as opposed to these T5 nice long screws that the MacBook Air has. MacBook Air is way more repairable. So if you're going to buy a computer and you want to make sure that it's more repairable, get a MacBook Air. They're better. At least this generation is the A2337, which I think is from 23, if I'm not mistaken. Hence the 23 on it. So putting these 4 screws back in. I hate mouth breathing when I'm recording. I also hate loud nose breathing, which is pretty much what I'm being forced to do. So I'm trying to talk to you guys and not mouth breathe or heavy nose breathe. Time for more water. Oh, my bottle's gone. It's empty. Also, while I'm voicing this over, I'm actually, I found this really good it's a pretty common, if you're in the 3D printing space, it's a pretty common thing. But gloop is what it's called, 3D gloop, and it tends to work really well for putting case pieces back together. I've got this Asus ROG laptop in here where the power button popped off because the straight rail part of it that like was melted with plastic some time ago, it popped off and just doesn't work now. Was kind of loose inside the case. Anyway, I used some of that PETG gloop, and it's holding very well, but that's drying while I'm talking to you guys too. Never really realized that would, or never thought that would work as well as it has. Okay. Now this is the part that I struggled for a while with. So I got one on and it snapped in just fine, and then the next one wound up being a huge pain in the butt. And I get the tweezers out and everything like that. My fingers are huge in comparison to these stupid little antenna cables. But you have to pop it on just so. And you don't want to push too hard, because if you push too hard, then you can end up breaking it. And I've done that before too. These were all lessons learned, you know? Thankfully, most of them on my own computers. And if not, a Wi-Fi antenna for a MacBook is not that expensive, so. Ooh. Anyway, still fussing with that antenna. You know what? I'll be right back. Give me 1 second. I'm going to let myself fuss with the antenna there. You guys can just enjoy the sound of me trying to search for some nasal spray to actually make myself not sound so stuffy. Where'd you go? Ah, there it is. Okay, I'm back. I can kind of breathe already. It's amazing. Amazing how that works. Okay, so it's looking like I got that antenna cable put on there. I am a wildly successful repairman. Put the protective tab back on it. So from this point, basically, it's securing the ribbon cable, getting that pushed back into place on top of it. And then you take those two black screws and you screw them down. Or actually, no, I think I'll put the cover on it first. The thing is that I like to do all the T4 stuff and then go switch my bit back to the T5. Because nobody wants to do T5, T4, T5, T4, you know, back and forth, trying to get everything taken care of. You just want to do all the T4 crap, and then you can do the T5 crap. So these are T4, if you were curious. Bing. Okay, got that screwed in there. So that display cable is plugged back in. And then I think I switched my bit to the T5. And I have two black screws that I got to stick back in to secure that ribbon cable back in place on either side. I feel like I'm about to sneeze, so I'm sorry. Excuse me. Oh. Well, now I'm all stuffed again. Stupid. Okay, So, other black screw going in. And then I get ahead of myself. Did you notice what I forgot? Good thing I didn't get too far. I was like, wait a minute. I forgot the battery. Where? So this is a strange battery connector. You actually have to kind of grab that tab that pops in, and then you have to push it in backwards and then pull it forward towards you and then flip the tab over top and lock it in place. But yeah, then I just go through and I put the screws back in. Another, I don't know, 2 minutes. Takes me so long because the screwdriver that I have there doesn't magnetize super well, and I wish someone had an automatic screwdriver that actually magnetized well. But it's one of those things where you have to magnetize the bit because the screwdriver itself won't magnetize. I feel like that's a design flaw with most of those cheap little... It's just an Amazon screwdriver, and it's the Fantic brand. It's the best one I've had so far, but man alive, it does not magnetize for squat. All right, there you go. Dude, taking forever to put screws back in. That's because frustrating things like that happen. Screw. Thread it first. There you go. You got it on there. Okay. Screw it in. Focus on that hand. Oh, yeah. Look at that hand. What an ultimate camera focus. All right. I believe we are about to flip to a mode. Oh yeah, you see how it's silver on top now? Yeah, we're going to pull that back plastic off. That's their testing stuff that comes from 7Puppy. It's all the testing verifications that they've done on that LCD. You can see the two-tonedness of it if you look towards the bottom. Okay, and then yeah, flip it around so you guys can see, and try to get you a good view. Look at how pretty that screen is. Look at how new and shiny. Ugh. And I got a fingerprint on it at the top. What happens? In case any of you are curious, it's a S23 Ultra I'm recording with. All right, let's go ahead and turn this bad boy on. So anytime that you pull the battery on a MacBook and you replace a part, you typically have to plug it in order for it to work again. If I just push that power button, it wouldn't have worked. There you go. That's it. It's fixed. If you like this content, subscribe, please. Thanks for watching.